Good morning everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this episode we're back with Hamworthy Cars and we have got these three vehicles, and today I'm going to test drive a vehicle what I've been wanting to drive for a long time. In fact, I've been wanting to drive this since the day it came out, and that is the Range Rover Velar. Now, where does this vehicle sit within the Range Rover range? Well, it sits in between the Evoque and the Sport, and that's price-wise and size-wise. Now, of course, you can take into other things like the new Land Rover Discovery, which sits in between those two prices as well, but I think this is purely aimed at people that want something a little bit bigger than an Evoque, but not something as expensive as a Sport. Now, this one in particular, what we're driving, is a very, very high-spec Velar. So this one might cost a lot more than a low-spec Sport, but this one is a very nice one. Let's get into it. So you're gonna have to excuse the exposure on this shot because this is a very, very deep black vehicle. So I've had to turn the exposure up quite a lot. But as you can see, it looks a little bit longer than the Range Rover Sport, but it's not actually any longer. It's shorter. Like I said, in size-wise, it is right in between the Evoque and the Sport. So it's shorter than the Sport, not by much, should I add. And this one in particular has got the dynamic R package, which means it's got these nice vents on the front bumper, a different rear bumper, a different styling package, and you get 1 extra inch on the wheels. So as it's showcasing some of Jaguar Land Rover's recent innovations, you can expect to get these handles that come out as soon as you unlock it. Quite a nice design feature. It makes them so they sit flush when they're not in use, and overall I think it's a nice aesthetic to have. So next we can talk about the boot space. Now, you've got a very large boot, and if you're not familiar with the size of the other two vehicles I've mentioned, this sits probably somewhere in between an Audi A4 and an Audi A6 Avant boot space. You do have a false floor in the bottom which houses a spare wheel, which believe it or not, it's quite rare these days to get a full spare wheel. Unlike some of the traditional Range Rovers, you're not getting much of a seating area here, so if you do plan on sitting out the back of it, it is a bit awkward. I'm a 6-foot man and my feet won't touch the floor if I fully sit on this, but there is plates to support some form of weight, so it's not an issue if you do like your feet dangling. The threshold doesn't come all the way over the rear bumper, which does mean that this area here is going to be a little bit prone to scratching if you do use this as a utility type-esque vehicle. You do have plenty of strap down points. I mean, there's probably more strap down points in one of these than there is in the Transporter, what I reviewed the other week. So you've got 4 strap down points on the boot, you've got hook points for up to 4 sets of carrier bags, you've got a 12-volt power supply, you've got hangers for clothes. I mean, in the back of here, it seems to be very tailored towards people doing long distance drives with maybe a suit hanging up in the back and some bags just stopping them from rolling around in the back, because you do have abundance of space. The chance of you filling this is very, very slim, so having the ability to strap stuff to the side so it doesn't slide around when you're driving it is only going to be a benefit. Now, we find ourselves sat in the back of this Range Rover Velar, and this seat is not set in an unreasonable position, and I have loads of legroom here, absolutely ample. And this one in particular, because it is the dynamic R, it's got the panoramic sunroof. Now, normally the roof would also be colour-coded black, but because this is a black vehicle, you can't see the colour coding of the different dynamic R roof. But if you were to get this in a different colour, it would be black with a panoramic glass set in the middle. Now, truly, this panoramic glass does really stretch from the front to the rear. It couldn't go any further forward without obstructing sun visors and the central console just in the roof line in there. This blind will also retract and open on locking and unlocking the vehicle, along with the wing mirrors and the door handles, which we previously mentioned. When you unlock this vehicle, a lot goes on. Lots of things move, lots of things change position. It's quite nice to have. It's definitely a more chauvinistic thing, so if you are into that show, when you unlock your vehicle and your passenger sees everything moving, it is very nice. And ultimately, sat in the back here, I don't feel like I'm a passenger of a vehicle. I feel like I'm sat in business class of an airport. There's lots of aluminium here, and I would be fearful if I were to have kids in the back of here. This aluminium feels like it would be something that would easily dent, and then obviously as soon as one of those gets a bit of a dent in, it's going to be very easy to see because it's all one-way brushed aluminium. But it is a very nice finish. We've got multiple speakers on the door cards, electric rear windows, which I think goes without saying on a Range Rover of this spec. But one thing that is nice about this is that the seating position is adjustable. Now, it's not that adjustable when the doors are closed. This button, what I'm about to press down by my side here, is pretty hard to get when the doors are closed. That being said, it is still possible to get to it, but it is going to recline the seat ever so slightly. I think we can probably get another 10, maybe 15 degrees of incline here which, I mean, more realistically, probably 10. But that has just changed my position completely. And yeah, this is definitely something. I think I might even opt to sit in the back if I were doing a long journey as a passenger in this vehicle rather than the front. My headroom, again, I think goes without saying that there's loads of headroom, even more so because we have the panoramic roof. If you didn't get the option for a panoramic roof in this, you could probably expect to lose 2 or 3 inches of headroom, but even that would be more than enough. I'm 6 foot tall, and that is more than enough for me back here. We've got one 12-volt power supply just in the middle here, and there are some blanking plates here, which tells me that there probably is some optional extras that could go in the back here. I would imagine dynamic climate control, probably 4-way climate control is an option in one of these, and there's another button there which probably turns it off if you were to have that option. Contrastingly to the door cards and this lovely finish on the door cards, this central console, just the bit what faces the rear, everything else is lovely, but the bit what faces the rear is very van-like and scratchy plastic. I mean, I probably wouldn't have expected that in this standard of vehicle, but it is there nonetheless. And the vents, there's just not much. And maybe going back to, there probably is an optional extra for a better climate control system in here, and maybe that changes the vents, but they are very, very simple and boring. And if you were to get this vehicle, you probably don't like things not to be cladded in chrome and gloss black, and that is a very van-like looking piece of equipment there. Both seats are fitted with Isofix, and these pop off, and just like some of the other Audis that I have problems with, is they fully come off, and yeah, they're probably prone to be lost. They're fully on display, so you can see that there's Isofix in this vehicle. For some people that is an issue. You can see the big black plastic clips with Isofix writing on them, but for people like me that is a father, it's nice to have access and easy access to these, but I can totally understand why people without kids would probably want them a little bit more hidden, and it is possible to do. People like Renault have no problems hiding these Isofix brackets. We do have a central armrest which pulls down. We've got 2 cup holders here, which, although they do have adjustability for what size cups they have, there's not much adjustability there. So if you were to get a cup that is ever so slightly too small for this, it would rattle around, and I probably would be fearful that it's going to spill in the back. There's no pass through to the rear, but these seats will fold flat, and both of these outside seats have got Isofix. Following the theme of the abundance of speakers in here, you've got 2 more speakers just off the back there. They are technically in the boot space, but just to give that 3D surround system option what Land Rover, Range Rover are offering with this vehicle at the moment. So that's awkward. Turns out there's a child lock on this door. So we should, I'm going to get myself out and I'm going to show you how easy it is, or how hard it is, to fit an Isofix seat in this vehicle. So first of all, you'll notice this door opens super wide. Now I've just taken my baby seat out of my X6, and the doors on that do not open wide at all. Now that's useful for 2 things. It's useful for getting the baby seat in like this, but also it's useful not to scratch any of your paintwork. And with these being this aluminium finish, like I've just mentioned, I would be worried about damaging them with the baby seat moving in and out. We're going to pull these clips off either side of the baby seat, which are very, very easy to pull off, but again, I would be worried about losing these. So we'll keep those safe. And we'll line these 2 legs up. And that is the baby seat fitted. Now on my seat in particular, we do have an anchor strap, and we just throw that over the back here, and we're going to strap that down in the rear of the vehicle. Now if you do have an Isofix seat like me that has a top tether point, all 3 of these seats have a top tether point, and all 3 of these seats will fold independently. There is a top tether point even on the central seat. However, I don't see any Isofixings on the central seat, so I'm not entirely sure what that's there for. Whether there is an option for a 3rd Isofix, I'm not sure. These seats do not electrically fold down. They are very much manual, but like I say, you've got a 3-way split on these, so that is more utility for both of them. This central one will recline with this left one on this button over here, and the right one reclines on its own. Right then, so sat in the car, the driver's seat, where most of you are probably going to be sat most of the time. Now this interior is quite possibly the nicest interior I have ever been in. I've been in Rolls Royces, high-spec Range Rovers, but this is next level. We've got a full digital multimedia interface in the middle. We've got the full digital dash display. I mean, nothing's analog in here. You have certain dials that are analog style dials, but inside the middle of them there's another digital screen. Now if you're watching this 5 years from me releasing this video, I'd like for you to comment and let me know if any of these digital screens are prone to faults, because I know Range Rover, Land Rover do have a record of not being the most reliable. And I think they're taking quite a bold move by putting this much tech in the vehicle at this quick of a pace. You know, you go to a Range Rover that is, I don't know, even 3 years older than this, and you'll get none of this sort of stuff. It'll be very, very basic. But it feels great. Everything just feels fantastic. You've got a lovely gloss black, piano black central console here, a twin armrest where they both adjust. Inside the central armrest, you've got a HDMI in, 2 SSD USB drive ports. You've got a SIM card, a 12-volt power supply. Doesn't seem to be wanting for much in here. Although there's lots going on this dash, they've done a very good job of making it very minimalistic. The vents are very slim and low profile. There's abundance of very nice but sleek patterns on the dash. And I mean, you look close, it's got a pattern. At a glance, it's very minimalistic. So yeah, this has definitely won my heart in here. The aluminium trim continues through to the front. And of course, I think it goes without saying, I'm not going to go into the multimedia system so much in this video, but it has everything. It's got your navigation, it's got your media. We've already explained that you can plug stuff into there, a HDMI in. You know, you can set up your PlayStation in here if you've got the right power supply. The seats, again, I think goes without saying, in a Range Rover of this calibre, are fully automatic. You've got different memory functions. They're covered on the door card here, and you've got buttons down below just to adjust your seating position. They're quite quick. I think slightly quicker than an Audi seat. I mean, I know for sure when I'm changing my Audi seat, it sometimes takes a little bit of time. Maybe that's because I've retrofitted them into my van, and in the factory vehicle it might have had a bit more of a voltage or a bit more of a current to give that motor the extra oomph, but they feel pretty good in here. Now then, let's take her for a drive. So the gear selector in these, in typical Jaguar Land Rover fashion, it is a turnable dial, and you do have a little bit of a depression before you get to sport mode, just in case you accidentally slip it into sport mode and you can't control the power. We'll leave it in drive for now. So they say never meet your heroes, and I've wanted to drive this vehicle ever since it came out. Like I said at the beginning of the video, as soon as this came out, I've not been a massive fan of Range Rovers. I mean, when the Evoque came out, I did quite like the look of the Range Rover, and then it became quite apparent that it was a Range Rover more aimed at footballers' wives that didn't want to drive the big vehicle. The Range Rovers themselves, they are very, very nice cars, but unfortunately they've been tarnished by the likes of Wayne Rooney and Chelsea tractor owners. And I think this thing, it just sits right in the middle for me. It almost feels like an estate. Now, it's no secret that I am a massive, massive fan of an Audi A6 Avant. Yeah, I've had one in the past. I tried to buy one instead of the X6, what I got, but then the X6 came up and I liked it. And this feels to me like Range Rover's very subtle attempt at bringing out an estate vehicle. Now, of course, the rest of the vehicles could be deemed estate-ish, but they're not. They're kind of a vehicle within their own right. But this very much feels, it's lower, it's sleeker. It feels longer than the Range Rover Sport, but it's not, it's shorter. Now, the prices from these range massively. These things can start at not much over 40 grand, but you can almost double the price on that with optional extras. Now this one, it's probably right down the middle. So there's one pack above this, which is the autobiography pack, and that's the expensive £90,000 plus one. And this one sits in the middle as a Dynamic R, which is still a very, very expensive and premium vehicle, but it's not got that autograph signature on the tailgate, and obviously the interior niceties, what you get with the autograph package. But talking about the interior niceties of an autograph package, this is by no means something that needs updating with a new design spec. It's lovely, it's very nice. And if this was in any other range of vehicle, it would quite easily be the top of the range. You know, if you got these seats and this quality of leather in a BMW, it would absolutely trump all other interiors of BMWs. It's nice to get back to this soft leather after I've been driving my BMW for so long now. The leather is rough, very hidey feel, whereas this smooth leather what you get in this sort of premium vehicle is just lovely. And you don't have to pay the premium to get this leather. It's very similar to Audi leather, what they use, but it's just nice. And this is two-tone, so you've got the suede, the anthracite suede on the sides and the bolsters and the heavy wear points. Now I'm taking this on my usual drive, what I do with Hamworthy Car Centre, which is where I have no destination in mind and I just drive it. And if I were to get this vehicle, I think it will probably be aimed more so at long journeys. And I feel like it's exactly where it sits. You know, not many people are buying these or buying any Range Rover in general to take them off-road, which is probably what the person that originally designed a Range Rover had intention of, you know, making an off-road vehicle with ever so slight luxuries that means that you're not rattling around in a Land Rover Defender. But I don't think these are often getting taken off-road. In fact, someone told me the other day that on one of the green laning forums, they saw a comment that basically said, I've just bought my new Range Rover. I'd love to get some recommendations of green lanes or any roads where I should try and take it to test out the capability of my new Range Rover. And all the comments were, on the road, it's not for green lanes, which is pretty ironic because, to be honest, you are going to see them on the road all the time, and that is what this is for. It's going to be an absolute motorway eater. This thing is going to be a pleasure to do those long drives on. The seats hug you, the steering wheel's nice, you feel in control, the vehicle's not overwhelming on the road. It is a very, very nice vehicle to drive. Now it is a big, heavy vehicle. This one has got 237 brake horsepower, which on the face of things seems quite a lot. Now it's by no means a slug, and you wouldn't expect it to be with the sort of engine what it's got. But it does feel like it's lacking just a little bit. Now maybe that's because I'm coming from a faster vehicle with just a little bit more power than this, and I'm expecting more than what it's going to give. That being said, there is options for this vehicle to get a bigger engine, but that is going to be a trade-off at economy at the same time. So although this does have 237 brake horsepower, you are going to average 48.7 miles per gallon out of this, which I think is absolutely insane for a vehicle of this size. Now this one does have the package which gives it the 21-inch alloy wheels, and you can hear a little bit of road noise on that, and I'm not sure if these are standard tyres what it comes with, and I know that a lot of these newer vehicles do come with run flats, but I wouldn't expect that with this one because it has a spare wheel in the back. But there's quite a considerable amount of road noise, and although I would like this package with the bumpers and the styling looks what it's got and the panoramic sunroof, but I just feel like if I was going to spec this out from new, I'd want the slightly smaller wheels. I mean, 20-inch wheels is by no means a small wheel. The 21-inch what you get on this package, I just feel like it's made that profile of that tyre come down ever so slightly, that just gives you that extra bit of road noise. And like I say, if I were to buy this, it would be for those motorway miles, and I'd want it to be as quiet as I could possibly get it. So what are my overall thoughts of the vehicle then? Now, this is a premium vehicle, and if I was going to sling around 40 grand on a car, this would definitely 100% be a top contender for my £40,000 car. And if I was going to have a Range Rover in general, this would be the winner, categorically. This is the nicest Range Rover I think that is on the market at the moment. And I think in this spec, it's absolutely perfect, apart from the tyres, what I previously mentioned. But for everything, to have a complaint of the tyres, I think that is a very, very minor thing. And that is just because I'm so picky. And that is something that I probably would change should I get the vehicle. I think it looks cooler than any other Range Rover that's in the range right now. And it's not as expensive as the Sport. But it ticks every single box. It's a family car. It's a good commuter. It's a good motorway car. It does tick every single box. So for that reason, it rates highly. It does, it genuinely does. The only thing that you can knock it down on is the price of it, but you are paying for that badge. Would I have one? Absolutely. And I think I probably will end up having one at some point in the future. Am I going to get one while they're 40 grand? Probably not. Thanks for watching. If you have seen any other vehicles on this forecourt that you would like me to test or even compare this vehicle against, then drop it in the comments below. If you want to see this vehicle in particular, then head over to Hamworthy Car Centre and you'll be able to see this on their online showroom. They also have loads of other Land Rover, Range Rover variants, along with many, many other cars. But that's me for now. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.